Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I know everyone is doing well and everything is unfolding perfectly. I am excited yet again because I have another amazing guest who, I'm just going to say this, a multifaceted individual, multifaceted soul. And I can only hope that we can get into some of the dynamics of this the amazingness that all entails, that defines that. Without further ado, I introduce to you Holly McNeill. How are you doing today, Holly?
Thank you so much, Lute, and thank you for that amazing introduction. I was just talking to a friend, and she helped me realize that sometimes I don't give myself enough credit for how far I've gotten from where I started, and so I appreciate that acknowledgement.
Yes, just a little bit of the bio that I read from you, just letting me peek in a little bit. It's just so much that you have. You have a lot of irons in the fire, and you've experienced quite a bit. But before I even go on, I want to say that I believe that time is one of our most precious assets, and I want to say that I want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you for just spending some of your time here with me in the moment in the history of your timeline here with me on Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I just want to say thank you very much for being here at this present moment.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, yes. And as I mentioned prior, you had a bit of a shakeup over there where you live.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I'm originally from the Black Hills of South Dakota, where we know what the word earthquake means, but now I'm living in Southern California, and I experienced my first, well, I experienced an earthquake in Bali once, but my first one in my home, where, I'm on the computer, all of a sudden everything's shaking, and the sound of that shaking is so unsettling.
Yes.
Yeah, it just made me think about the mortality, right? Coming on this podcast, it just made me think about, okay, well, maybe this is the end of this experience. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Did anything fall or break?
No, it was very brief. The epicenter is about an hour, 15 minutes away. So it was a 4.1.
Oh, wow.
So
well,
I guess
I'm thankful that you're okay, and hopefully everyone that and around you and that and your family is okay as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully no one period got hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too soon.
Yeah.
It was only a couple hours ago, actually. So
And usually, not to add more fuel to the flame, but usually there's aftershocks that come after, Yeah.
This one had a couple kind of preparatory pre-shocks, I guess, had some 2.8s that I didn't feel, but and there might be another one. You're right. So if I start to shake,
Yes. Wow. Well, like I said, I'm thankful that you're okay, and yes. But everything is unfolding perfectly. You're here, I'm here, and I just want to celebrate you a bit, And if you feel like it, if you could just give us a bit of insight on your amazing
journey.
Journey on. No, I wanted to ask specifically about you being an architect and 26 years experience managing global projects. Tell us a little bit about that. I really am interested in that.
At age 25, which was kind of at the dawn of cell phones, to give you kind of an idea, right before the turn of the last century, I went into work one day, and in my mailbox, not my computer, but an actual piece of paper, there was a memo I was copied on from the architect. It was to the architect that I was working under, and it said, Holly will now be in charge of this project. She will oversee all construction meetings. She will, be in charge of all communication. So by 25, I was large and in charge in my field. In a construction meeting with 10 to 20, white men in South Dakota around me, I was exuding authority.
You were the boss?
Yeah, and well beyond my age. I was,
wow.
Yeah, I was large and in charge, but inside, like I said, I didn't give myself any credit. I didn't see it that way at all because of my, conditioning in my formative years.
Right.
And I kept building on those rocky foundations until age 34, where it all kind of imploded. I literally crying on the toilet in the middle of the night. I made this vow. And in that moment, there has to be better. There has to be more than this. And getting that second chance, I went out to make good on that vow and spent 20 years searching across the country and from coast to coast in neuroscience, psychology. I practiced Buddhism for 5 years. I lived in a Dharma house, secular spirituality, and
neuroscience.
Neuroscience, yeah, and it all pointed everything. What's amazing to me, Lud, is that everything pointed back to the simple truths of the world, of how the world is, how the world exists. So I took my architectural prowess, right, my ability. I did eventually go on to do hospitals in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, Mecca Holy Mosque Hospital. Worked for Stanford. Wow. In California, and I took that ability to take millions of pieces and thousands of consultants and lots of bits of information and put it together in a clear way that people could understand. My gift is clarity. Wow. So now I'm known as the mindfulness architect because when I teach people what I've learned on my circuitous routes across the country, they're just really amazed. It's like the ABCs of why we meditate, what is mindfulness, how we get from stuck, small, and isolated to really infinite as far as you want to go. So it's been an amazing, long, as you said, long and complicated, but joyful. Well, I'm joyful to be here today. The journey wasn't necessarily joyful, but yeah, I learned so much about who we are and how we exist here and this precious human life we have.
Absolutely amazing. And like you said, the ride might not have been so joyful, but it was necessary to create who you are. Everything contributed to the fabric of who you are.
And you're right about divine timing and everything is showing you everything that shows up in your life exactly at the right time to show you what you need to set yourself free. Absolutely. Everything is trying to show you that true nature, that conscious awareness that you have within you, that you are when you unravel all those habits and patterns and defaults that I certainly built my life on for years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I totally resonate and agree with that. And yes, I work on myself daily to quiet myself and to get myself out of my own way so that I can embrace that and embrace the flow and realize that things are unfolding perfectly, even when it doesn't seem like it. Not saying that we can't experience a bit of turbulence and things of that nature, things that are just unwanted and unsettling, as you mentioned that word, unsettling. But when you become mindful and aware, you're able to navigate a lot easier and with ease in life.
With ease. That's right. Life flows as if by its own fruition.
Right.
Because this is the experience, right? This is the experience. This is the temporary experience of something much bigger.
Absolutely.
So it's my hope I so appreciate being here is that not everyone has to go, move across the country and from coast to coast and live in a Dharma house, to understand this, my hope to enlighten as many people as I can about the joy of being here and the power the mind has to create your world every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say was a defining moment? I mean, you were obviously searching for something, but what was that defining? Was there a specific moment that you can think of that just led you into these different, to want to study like neuroscience and psychology and spirituality and Buddhism and all that? What led you to those
It's funny. It's fun.
modalities.
Yeah, it's funny when I started, I didn't necessarily want to study those things.
Right.
I just needed better. You know, this low point at age 34, you know, I had made some poor choices around touch and love, and that was back at the time of HIV, and I was afraid,
Right.
and I just knew there had to be better, you know.
Mm,
And so I didn't know where it was going, but that's the mind will go where it thinks it can go. You
right.
know, it's that powerful. So if we believe, all we have to do is believe there is better, and better will show up. And so things started showing up.
Mm,
If I had a question, the next thing I read was the answer. I'd hear answers in conversations as people walked by. If I left a video playing on YouTube, the next one I didn't turn it off in time would be amazing.
right.
And so it led me into these different modalities. You know, it just things. If you really believe and you want to know, if you want to know, you will know. And so these things just started showing up. And one of the most pivotal moments for me was, and like I said, I practiced Buddhism for 5 years, and
Right.
I read a book called You Can Be Happy No Matter What by
Oh, okay.
Dr. Richard Carlson. He's the
Oh,
genius.
Carlson. Yes.
Yeah, he's
I'm
the genius.
familiar.
Don't sweat the small stuff, right? I read it 10 years into my journey, and I read it 20 years into my journey. You're a different person then. And this time there's a little footnote I noticed. This is,
Okay.
oh, by the way, a lot of the ideas in this book I got from this other book from the 1980s with a very unfortunate title called Sanity, Insanity, and Common Sense,
Right.
a new approach to happiness. But in reading that book, it just blew me away. It was the last piece in the puzzle. It pointed back to what millennial old wisdom had what they had been saying, what Buddha has been saying,
Thanks. Yes.
what the wisdom of 2,000 years ago has
Right.
said, but it said it in a psychological perspective, from a psychological perspective. And then there's the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? I don't know
Mm.
if you've seen that movie,
No, I
but
haven't.
you should absolutely watch that movie. It came out in 2004, and people tried to debunk it because they didn't want to believe it. That also pointed back to these few simple truths. And the
Let me
most
write
fun.
that down. Excuse me. Excuse me for interrupting. Yeah, let me write that down because I take everything as a um, like you said, a message. And I
Yeah,
don't want to make light of any messages that I receive. So, what
it's
is the
called
title again?
What the Bleep Do We Know?
The Leap.
What the Bleep Do We Know? It came out in 2004. It's half documentary, it's half of story with Marlene Matlin in it. Dr. Joe Dispenza's in it, a lot of other, they
Oh,
talk,
Joe Dispenza. Okay, I
yeah,
know it's good now.
they talk about quantum physics. One of the things I tell my students, if you want to learn anything, if you hear something that speaks to you,
Right.
watch it over and over and over.
Over.
I've watched that
Right.
movie 15 to 20 times,
Right.
because if you only watch it once, you won't ever remember it because you've got too much else going on here. But
Yes.
that also, that's where it got me introduced into neuroscience. But that also pointed back to these few simple truths. The most fundamental of the truth is that we are not our thoughts, emotions, and feelings, our habits, patterns, and defaults. Our personalities, this personality that we identify with, 95% of it is created below our level of awareness. It's created by habit, whatever trauma or whatever we think about without even knowing it, over and over and over again. We take on as our personality traits, identify with, and then we say, this is who I am. We don't question it. But when you unravel that, when you start to, nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. When you unravel that, you see there's no identity, there's no ego there, right? There's
Wow.
this clear awareness. Amazing. It's elementary. I mean, it's that straightforward. When you unravel it, there's only this, when you were born, there was, before all your conditioning, you were aware, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So
That's what we are. I believe that's what life is.
yeah,
Awareness.
that's right.
Yes. I read a book entitled The Physics of Consciousness
Mm,
by Ivan Antic. And it talks a lot about that, about pure awareness and pure
that's right.
consciousness. And before everything else is indoctrinated and
That's
woven into
right.
that. Yeah, it's an amazing book. Ivan, Ivan, Antic, Antic,
Okay, I will definitely look it
The
up.
Physics of Consciousness.
Yeah.
An amazing book. And I had never heard of Ivan Antic before. I was looking for another book actually on Amazon, and I came across that book, right? And then it just
It showed
reached
up,
out.
right? It
It
appeared.
showed up and I followed it. And then I read about it a little bit and I said, this is interesting. And I got it. And now it's one of my favorite books to this
Yeah,
day.
yeah. I'll definitely look it up. Yeah, but what was so amazing, Lute, is that everything, it's like there was no question. Everything kept pointing back to the same thing. When you unravel that, all of these habits and patterns, you are this experience. You are you are everywhere. You're not just confined to this body and mind that you know, you're life, and life is in everything.
Right.
You're very powerful. You create your life by whatever you think. In this book, Sanity and Common Sense, it talked about the science of psychology. And some people would even argue if psychology is a science at all, because it didn't have any common denominators, no formula, no rules like math or biology that it follows. But Dr. Enrique Suarez, who wrote this book, it's not even in print anymore because, again, Dr. Carlson kind of reprinted it in the other book. But he said there is one common denominator in our humanity, and that is the ability to think. No two people have the same habitual thought system, but we all think. And it is our ability to think that creates our world. Have you heard of Tim Olmsted?
No. Should I?
Well, we're each giving each other these tidbits, but
You know what? Let me keep this paper over here. I keep reaching over here. I have a feeling that I'm going to be taking some more notes, and that's
and what I love about my
thing.
practices and my teachings, I don't make any of this stuff up. Like I said, I use my architectural skills to pull it together, but I didn't have to make any of it up because every single piece fell into place. Tim Olmsted
I got it.
Is known as the small town Buddhist preacher.
Okay.
He's also the president of the Pema Chodron Foundation.
Okay.
And he's got there's this podcast that he's on. I can send you to the link later. And he said he said that this is how mind works. But if you think if anxiously, you see an anxious world. If your mind is angry, you see a chaotic world.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you and I've experienced this, anxiety was my thing, and through our thoughts, we then infuse our body. Our hypothalamus sends into every cell in our being those receptors, and then it kind of floods back to us in the form of feelings. So I've been flooding it with not just love and compassion, but also strength and confidence as I go forward and teach what I've learned. And I can feel the change. Anyone, I call it our subconscious blueprint 2.0, right? We all have the ability to become the architects of our own mental landscape. Wow. Not only that, not only to create the world however we want, but also to understand how we exist in this world,
That's absolutely amazing. And wow, I could listen to you all day long. Just the way that you articulate yourself and express yourself and the vivid picture that you're painting as to you can really feel that you are passionate about what you're expressing, and it's amazing just to listen to you.
Thank you. And I think it's because I had to go through it.
Right.
People can know concepts.
Right.
I teach a class twice a month, and some of my students tell me, people can know concepts, but I'm the poster child, right? Because I was so self-absorbed, unhappy, anxious, shameful because of some childhood trauma. It can be when we're unaware of our subconscious, 95% of all the brain's activity goes on below our level of awareness. And so when we're unaware in our formative years, it takes very little trauma to really send you the wrong way. I can pinpoint mine down to a 24-hour period, that caused me years and decades of shame, anxiety, feelings of worthlessness, and vulnerability.
If I may interject on that point, and you are absolutely right, because even from my experiences, from my perspectives, I have to work on myself daily to keep my mind out of the gutter. And when I say that, I mean from just being anxious, from focusing on the negative instead of the positive, and the worry and all that. I have to purposely steer myself back to that. The grateful thing is that I am now aware, and I have developed some tools, through reading, and studying other people, and in listening, and even engaging in dialogues with, extraordinary people such as yourself. But yes, it's a daily work, I would say. I work on myself daily, because my default, I would say, if I have to put it in context like that, my default is to go back to that anxiety, that worry, and I have to quickly, but now I quickly get, hey, wait a minute. No, no,
That's
no, no.
right. That's right.
Everything's working out right for you.
And the quicker you do it, the more it'll become second nature, of course.
Right.
But the mind, there's just a very few things that people need to understand about how the brain works, right? The brain has a negative bias. Right? It will automatically go back to the negative for various reasons. If it was protective mechanism from a long time ago, from protecting its programming, but it takes, like I said, it only takes so little to start to create a habit in the first place, and then you nurture it over and over and over, to the point where if I see something on TV I don't like, I get anxious, right?
Yep.
And so you have to unravel that. You have to catch that. You have to catch that habit. And the best thing you can do when you catch it is just to let it go, right? Like a wave in the ocean. The more often you can just let it go, the more you engage with it, you're like in the jaws of a mad dog, and it gets worse and worse. The more you let it go, the more you unravel that neural net, the more space you have to see it clearly. But you're right. That's what mindfulness is, moment to moment, non-judgmental awareness. Why mindfulness is so key, because you have to be aware moment to moment. There's only life living in this present moment.
Right.
So being aware of that every moment.
You reminded me when you said you have to catch that, catch those feelings, those that are not serving you, those thoughts. And you reminded me of a segment that I listened to by a man named Neville Goddard. I listened to a segment online, and he said, when you find yourself having these fear-based thoughts or whatever it might be, he said, give yourself a mental abortion and start, and he said, and start replacing those with,
That's right. Turn around, walk the other way. You
Stop it right
away.
You don't have to
investigate it. You don't have to dig into it. Even digging into it validates it, makes it work. Just turn around, walk the other way, laugh, offer it the victory, accept the defeat, belt out a few lines. Yeah.
Observe it and let it flow. Let it go.
Right. It'll be like a cloud. It's like it'll go. If you don't grab on, it has no place to go.
No place to go if you don't feed it energy. Yeah, I totally agree. That's absolutely amazing. Can you give us a bit of insight on this that you developed, this P.E.R.L.O.V.E? Is that what am I saying?
Yeah.
P.E.R.L.O.V.E formula. Can you give us a bit of insight framework around that?
So by my early 40s, I realized I had something to say to the world, to put two intentions out to the world, very powerful intentions are. And one was to retire from architecture before I turned 50. And the second was to have the time and space to write about what I thought I knew back then. So I retired 2 days before I turned 50.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I sat down to write. But it wouldn't be until I printed out a book proposal that I still hope to publish someday. But the book was just a means to an end that I looked over and I could see it. It was like the lights came on. I could see a clear path on this 20-year circuitous route I had just taken. So the P.E.R.L.O.V.E practices are in two parts. It's an acronym: pledge, evaluate, recognize, the more cerebral part of the formula, where we're first training the mind. We first pledge to make the habit of watching the mind, to become the observer.
Yes.
And then we evaluate what we stuffed in our long black bag. There's a poem by Robert Bly called The Long Black Bag, where we take parts of us, that we live by, and when we evaluate our targets for change, then we recognize them as they come up in our daily lives, right? From that, and we create that space. So that's the first part. That's training the mind. And then in love, we open the heart, right? We locate that space that remains when thoughts, emotions, and feelings have subsided. We drop into our hearts. We open our heart using our power of imagination and open till that flow comes through, right? We invest in that flow. There's so much unconditional love, universal compassion, infinite wisdom, but we also, that you can learn so much about yourself in that flow. But we also invest in every single obstacle that comes up in our life, as we talked about. It's everything, every person, place, or thing, every piece of trauma, every setback is showing you what you need to set yourself free. And finally, the last E in P.E.R.L.O.V.E is expand. We're expanding beyond our conditioned limits. Right. In the end, finding that, finding happiness is much more subtle than you think. When you just have a slight shift in perspective. And you realize that you and the world around you are the same nature. You understand your role in creating your happiness and the happiness of the world. They say when you stop seeking, you have arrived. So that's my practices in like the very short version.
Wow.
But I teach them over a course of a year, and I'm starting to get together a 1-week kind of boot camp retreat as well. It just came about at the end of 21. So I was an architect in corporate America, and now I'm teaching these practices. I'm starting to speak more and being on, enlightening podcasts.
And everything that you need shows up at the right time.
Absolutely.
Unfolds.
I tell that to people, everything, absolutely everything I need shows up. And I've gotten to the point where I'm not even attached to it's attachment, right? That causes all struggle.
Right.
Patient acceptance of things exactly how they are in the moment puts you in a much better position to respond with wisdom. So I'm not even attached anymore to making these practices, to being like super famous and popular and everybody knows.
Right.
My goal is to teach people that want to know what I learned.
Yes.
And I'm here as a teacher to teach anyone that wants to know what I've learned.
Yes. And I can resonate with that. Just how you elaborated on the fact that you've evolved past that need for recognition and fame and all that. I started out with that kind of in my mind, but as I progressed and elevated in my consciousness, nope, I just want to engage in amazing dialogues with people that are elevating, humanity in some way, and share that right there is my purpose. I now know, and that's what's important to me. So
and in doing that, and not worrying about or needing that, it frees you up to do so much more. You're so much more available to accomplish those things.
Right. It frees up a lot of mental bandwidth, not to be attached or have this expectation, if you will.
Expectation is huge. Yeah. I realized even recently, digging way down in my black bag, that because of my childhood and my alienation from my father, I had given myself the impossible task of needing the world to love me. Right. Spending energy worrying about what I would say.
Wow.
And guess what? I don't need the world to love me. And in not needing the world to love me, I can nurture my own self-love and in turn love the world.
I love that.
That was huge for me. That was even recently. Yeah. Deep down. And below that was lack of self-respect for what I've done.
Yes. Self-love, that when you start to embrace yourself and love yourself in every aspect of your unfolding, of your work in progressness, of your masterpiece-ness. I know those aren't words. I'm just trying.
Work in progressness. I love it.
Yes, I'm just expressing myself. Best way I can right now. But that's what came to mind. But yes, that right there.
Since we're all connected, since we are one.
Right.
We are that conscious awareness in everything. That's in everything.
Right.
In loving yourself, you are reciprocating to the world, and the world will respond.
Yes.
If you have a loving heart, you'll see a loving world, as Tony tells us.
Right.
He says this is how mind works. It's not spirituality.
Right.
It's not Buddhism. It's simply how this amazing mind that we have works. Whatever you give it, it will give back to the world.
Right.
Amazing.
And I like that. Whatever you see, that's whatever you are, that's what you'll see. And that reminds me of someone I was talking to um, some time ago, and we were talking about even like the social media and internet. I said I fashion my social media and internet and all that, everything that I look at. That when I go on, all I see is motivation. I don't see any gossip. I don't have mine where I see gossip and I see these gory stories and things like that. I have, all my search history is uplifting and self-empowerment and personal development and spirituality and how I can, the brain and health, and that's what I see in my virtual world. So
I hear you. I hear you, Lou.
yes.
I have my sister and a friend of mine in particular. They're like, "Don't you ever watch the news?"
Nope.
I'm like, "You are my news channel. If I need to
There
know
you
something,
go.
let me know." I mean, the Earth
Right.
shook today. I know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
If
but
the
I don't.
asteroid is coming to destroy the planet, I'm sure you'll let me know. But
Yes.
I don't have to sift through a ton of murders and killings and this and that to find that out. So
I don't even like watching violent TV shows. Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it registers, right?
It does.
Yeah, so
Your subconscious mind
I
expresses.
do ask them to let me know if there's something I need to know going on in the world, but I don't watch all that negativity. You're absolutely right. That will affect you every single day. And people that watch the news can get really bogged down in that negativity. I mean,
It
you can
sucks them
certainly
in.
help, and the best way to help the world is to not be bogged down, to be that love that you want to see in the world. It's a task we have, a journey we're on. I have a friend that calls it a game. The game of life is to awaken. Right?
Yes, the game of life is to awaken.
And
Yeah.
I
I mean,
honestly,
awaken. Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
honestly
Awaken.
think that this experience, and when you do awaken, it's the universe recognizing itself. Eckhart Tolle talks this way. The universe getting to know the depth of itself through your own humanity. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful opportunity to be here. And
yes,
today I was driving my car and I missed a turn. So I turned past the yields and I bumped my back tire and I damaged the wheel. And I could feel it immediately, all of that shame and stuff coming back. And I'm like, nope, I'm just going to stay open and just let it flow. Because when we hold things in our bodies, it bogs us down. I mean, of course, I wished I wouldn't have done that.
Of course.
But I'm not going to hold it in my body, in this precious body, in this precious experience. The more we can stay open, the more power we have. So.
Right. There's a saying that I incorporated, and I didn't make it up, so I'll say this, but it goes like this: if it can be fixed, why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
If it can't be fixed, why are you worried about it? You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's basically
worry and shame, such a waste,
it's a waste. It's not either it can be fixed or it can't. Move on.
And I had that anxiety for years, and you hold it, you actually can feel it holding in your body. So in one of my practices in class, I tell people when you go to bed at night, you just keep repeating open, release. You don't even have to know what you're releasing. Just keep practicing that open, release, so that when you hit the curb, you can just open.
Yes. That
in
takes
the past,
practice
I would
though.
have beat
Because that
myself
takes practice.
up and.
Because I think that would have even shook me up if I did that. I would have been like, oh.
Yeah, and we just got the car too.
And then visualizing if I would have just did this.
Oh yeah, you stupid! I can't believe that. Why didn't you just? But no, I wasn't.
Why didn't you just drive straight?
Why didn't you just not miss the turn? The yield part of the turn.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're down to about 3 more minutes, but before we conclude the segment, can you share with us how can people find you? You got a website that you could share here audibly with us?
You can find me. You can either type in Mindfulness Blueprints.
Mindfulness Blueprints.
Mindfulness Blueprints, which is the name of my company that I've created.
.com?
mindfulnessblueprints.com, or P.E.R.L.O.V.E formula, P.E.R.L.O.V.E formula.com. They'll both take you to my website. Yeah.
And I believe that you sent me both of those links. Am I correct?
I think so, yeah. And on Facebook, Mindfulness Blueprints Collective, I'm creating a 21-day challenge, which I was working on when the earthquake hit today, called Awaken Your Inner Observer. So if you join my Facebook group, there'll be more information on taking that challenge, creating the first practice in P.E.R.L.O.V.E, pledging to become the observer. So there's a 21-day challenge coming. Yeah.
Amazing. And when we conclude this, if you could just be sure in Facebook Messenger, send me those links one more time, just so I can make sure I got them, because I'm going to work on editing this video this evening. So,
okay, great.
Yes,
great.
yes.
Great.
But thank you very much again, Holly, for gracing us with your presence and for bringing more value to to not only myself, but to the platform and everyone that is witnessing this. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke, for reaching out. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. And thank you everyone for watching and or listening. Be sure to hit that like, that subscribe, share it, leave comments, questions. Yes. And just help the platform grow and help get these amazing messages out there. I appreciate you very much. Also, check out the Enlighten, Empowered, Evolved website at 333empower.com. And I just appreciate everyone. Thank you for supporting me on this podcast and my guest and I just appreciate it. Thank you very much. Love and appreciation to everyone. Until next time, see you soon. Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved.